Hey folks, I had an interesting game audio challenge this week that I wanted to capture and share. So it was to make the sound of this little guy, the star of in development game I Am Fish, then make the sound of his goldfish bowl rolling around. Now, my initial attempts, my kind of instinct on how this thing would work, sort of like an engine, like I was taking different layers, blame containers, um, pitching them, and it really just did sound like an engine, and it didn't work. And I realized that actually using pitch to map the velocity of the rotation was just not going to work for me. So I came up with the solution that I wanted to capture here as quickly as I can, which was to take essentially noise and apply some EQs that are oscillated to give the shape of rolling that I'd kind of identified from the recordings that I'd made of actual glass balls rolling. I kind of found some of the sweet spot frequencies that seemed to sort of impel the feeling of something rolling. So like, I'm just going to run through my layers here real quick and just show the oscillator. That's all there really is to it. So, I mean, really, I'll try not to burst your eardrums, but this just is noise. It was actually some flame stuff that I had, because it kind of had this like that I had in my head. Sorry, I had a cold. I can't do that. And so I ended up with these 3 EQ layers that was sort of sitting in these regions that I had identified as being rolly. And they are, as you can see, like a low pass, sorry, a low cut, a thin band that I was actually amplifying, but I took out of the mix and oscillated, and also adjusted the gain, so like how much of that was coming into the mix, and also the Q factor. So like the faster you're going, the more noticeable the rolling is. And then a really wide band also at the top. I was using a high shelf initially, but it was really making everything too muffled. So I'll just run through the layers, and while I do that, I'll just let you kind of visually see the oscillator at work. So the oscillator is being driven by, like, the velocity of the oscillator is being driven by the rotation here, but also you can see it's also taking more like quicker velocity, but also kind of more of the range the faster that you go. So it starts with like less sweep and goes to more sweep. So let me just run through my layers in case that's interesting. Started with a very low one that I took from the noise, which I think conveys rolling really well. And then a middle one. Oh, let me just kill that so that they're properly soloed. This is the top layer. So again, you can hear that oscillator working through, giving it the roll. And middle. Now all of them together. So then it was also about adding a surface to it as well, to give some of that kind of crunch, some of that feeling, and also a little bit of glass. So I'll add in the glass layers. And the crunchy surface. And what this enabled me to do is have this really wide range. So I'll just let it all hang out now. I think that was everything anyway. This wide range of speed from slow speeds, but also enabling us to really pick up to some of the higher speed ranges that the gameplay was going to necessitate. I'd kind of started early with a lot of glass because, you know, glass is really resonant. So it makes sense that the ball would be doing that kind of tinkly sound that you hear at the end there. But it was fatiguing and not really pertinent. So I left it in for the high speed. Basically when you're kind of hitting terminal velocity, because if you break the bowl, bad things happen to the fish, right? That was when the top glass comes in almost like an alarm to let you know that you're in trouble now. You better land safely. So yeah, that's the gist of it. It's, essentially synthesized this rolling stuff as my solution and using those oscillators to map that rolling shape. Anyway, I hope that was helpful to someone. Thanks.